down Jabari Parker, but we'll see how that goes. Big news last night, the number 5 team, San Diego State, goes down, and they lost to Wyoming, which kind of has you thinking, because San Diego State was in the number 1 seed discussion for a while. They went to Allen Fieldhouse and beat Kansas. That's the first time a team's done that in a while. And now then they go and lose to Wyoming. And they're not playing in a good conference to start with. So does that just completely wipe out their chance of getting number 1 seed, or do you think if they can kind of climb their way back in?
I don't know. I think they could climb their way back into it. It's one loss.
Might be able to.
Obviously Wyoming's not a good team, but they could.
Wyoming's always up there though. It's like one of those teams that is known to like take down
and upset teams. But I mean, I think we don't have any locks for the number 1 seed this year. I think Syracuse, Wichita State probably, but let's actually get into Wichita State, because Wichita State doesn't look like they're going to lose the rest of the season.
Not on a tough schedule.
No, not a tough schedule at all. But should they be punished for that? I mean, we saw Gonzaga last year. Gonzaga lost to Wichita State after Gonzaga had that major run, but Gonzaga's conference, though, is a lot better than Wichita State's conference this year. So I don't know. I think that Wichita State deserves the number 1 seed just because there's nothing. I mean, they couldn't do anything more to get it. If you're going to win every single game, then you'd think you'd have to get a number 1 seed.
Well, yeah, if you haven't lost to anybody.
I think strength of schedule should take a little part of it. Like, though, if they lose 1 game, they're dropping like 10, 12, a big drop.
Yeah, I agree with that. But Syracuse is probably a major lock. Maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see Arizona who lost. Yeah,
and Arizona was doing well at the beginning of the season. You know, they're still doing fine. They're still doing well. But.
And they lost Brandon Ashley, who was he scored 11 points a game too. He's a really good forward. I think though the best team in college basketball at this point though is Florida, because Florida just went in last night and they look to be the most complete team so far. Yeah. But we'll see about that. And San Diego State obviously lost. And then other news, Bill Self is talking about how Joel Embiid, who's kind of struggled lately, he was at the top of the mock drafts, and in every single mock draft he's the number 1 prospect. And now he's kind of looking, and Bill Self is saying that he'll be sitting out a few next games because he's had some back and knee problems.
A lot of those big men that go early in the draft never really develop.
I know, it seems to be a trend when they hit the pro level.
And they've got all sorts of, we saw with Greg Oden.
Yeah, they get plagued with injuries.
Seem to be all those guys.
And they've never really been able to pan out.
But they're all different players, so who knows? You know, who knows what he's got in store.
But obviously, big news from college basketball. I think that's all we've got, though. So we'll take it to a quick commercial, and then we'll be right back with some Olympic coverage.
Playing basketball
all around the world. To the beach, y'all. Let's go. All around the world. Y'all know this is so that. To the beach, y'all. Yeah.
We are back with Mitch Cooter to talk a little bit of Olympics. It's a good thing that's not on the screen because you're missing. So,
in case you were wondering,
Olympics are definitely in full swing, and they're pretty exciting. And this is, obviously we've had some mishaps with the fireworks and lots of different stuff.
Much like Team USA having some mishaps.
Yeah, that circles for USA and that's about how good of an Olympics they're having. Yeah. We've had a pretty rough start to the Olympics.
Well, I mean, they're in 4th place in the medal count, but
yeah,
I mean,
we have the medal count in our playback. If
Well,
we can get
they
that pulled up.
started off well. I mean, both snowboarders won the inaugural slope-style competition, and so U.S. swept gold in the very first snowboarding slopestyle. So it started off well, but then our big names have been.
Yeah, the
first
names, the
2
only
days.
guys expected.
So we do have a video of the first 2 days, which went pretty well for the U.S.
And it did. I mean,
if we could get that real quick.
there's the.
There's the
I guess our
fireworks.
stuff's not working either. So.
But let's
Everything
talk
in the
about that
US.
a little bit, because obviously the huge news with Shaun White not even being on the podium this year, which
Okay.
what?
He got robbed.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have won gold. I watched the semis, I watched the finals, everything like that, and his final run, he fell on his first run in the finals, just hit his butt right on the edge, and then
Checked it.
after that, his second run was really amazing, but he did some things that weren't quite Shaun White characteristics.
Yeah.
Like when he pulled off the YOLO trip, the YOLO flip.
Mm-hmm.
But when he landed it, his butt kind of leaned back and hit against the side.
Look at the torque on the
Which,
board.
I mean, he still came up and still had speed,
Yeah.
but that kind of knocked him down. And then on his very last trick, when he came down, his hand brushed the ground.
Yep.
And so,
It's just ticky-tacky things.
Yeah. Well, and that's the
usually-
difference between gold
but
and
I think
fourth
in this
place.
case, but I think in this case, I think Shaun White in previous years beat Shaun White this year.
I would agree.
Because those judges are like, oh, this is Shaun White. He's put up
We
a
expect
perfect
so-
score.
we expect
they
so much.
expect
Yeah.
that. And then because he didn't pull that off.
Well, yeah, and there's a couple of factors that I think why he went into it. First was his injury. He's been injured throughout this whole year. He got injured at the beginning of the year, and then he kind of got injured again practicing the slope style course. So he pulls out the slope style course with a jammed wrist. So I think that might have been a little bit of a factor. Regardless if it was or wasn't, in previous Olympics, he's practiced 2 or 3 days before the event, and then does the event, and then that's it for him. But this year, he'd been up at the pipe for like weeks, and he'd put a ton of time and a ton of dedication into it, as well as we saw him pulling out of the slope style, which was another sign of his dedication to the pipe. So in a small interview that he did after his disappointment, taking fourth place, he told the reporter, I think I overanalyzed. I gave too much to it, more than I ever have before, which I thought would pay off, but he thinks he overanalyzed things he did. And then also that the pipe was in terrible condition. And that's not just for him, that's for everybody. But the bottom was slushy. It wasn't even like a full, half circle. The walls were slippery.
I think, that's a bummer because you hate for conditions
Yeah,
to limit
to play a part.
athletes when they compete at such a high level. But you definitely have to give props to iPod.
Yeah, that's no disrespect to him.
I'd try and say his name, but that's it's like Iori
Podlashikov.
It's something ridiculous. Which he was born in Russia and snowboards for Switzerland, I think. But we do have a video of the difference between Shaun White's final run and iPod's final run. So if we can just play that. On the right, you'll see iPod's run. And
Well, there's him winning.
It's like it's over.
to the left, that's Shaun White's. So you can see
Is it the hair? Is it
You
the hair?
know?
Because he cut the hair.
right
Is
there.
it a
See how his
Samson?
hand
yeah.
touches at the end?
Is it a Samson like
Cutting
thing?
the locks.
Because he cuts his hair, and he's goldless.
I don't know.
The flying
we'll leave
tomato
that.
Sean is better than the Macklemore Sean or whatever he was going with his
know.
haircut. But
Well, he's no longer the flying tomato. That might
Disappointed to
affect
Shaun
that.
White. Moving on, other news: Bodie Miller doesn't even win
my
his.
goodness.
Doesn't even win. Takes 8th place.
Just disappointment all over the
Well off
Winter
the
Olympics.
stand.
Because Shaun White, he put up the highest score in the prelims.
Yeah.
And Bodie Miller, in all his times, he was the fastest skier in every pre-thing. And then the finals hit, and you watch him ski. And when you watch the slalom, or not slalom, the Super G skiing, they have the lines painted on. And those lines really are like where you want to be. You have to stay on the inside line, and the closer you are, then the faster your time gets. And when you watch his, he was really far off the line.
Yeah.
And then when it came to drop-offs,
He
had
looked out of
run.
control. He
didn't look like he was balanced.
Yeah.
So that was really weird of him
Yeah.
because that's not characteristic of Bodie Miller.
Well, do you
No.
think it was pressure that he felt? I mean, he had all those great times in the prelims, and then
Well, it was the same. It's ironic that it was
Yeah.
the same story with Shaun White. You
The-
know,
Yeah.
with
absolutely
Bodie Miller.
killed it in the beginning, and then comes out and disappoints in the final.
I've watched Bodie Miller for a long time, and the thing that's been characteristic with Bodie is when he is skiing, when he's up at the top waiting to go, normally he's joking around, having fun
Yeah.
with everybody, and then for some reason when he was about to make his final run, he just looked
tense and
tense. Like he looked so focused, which I mean, not that you shouldn't
Yeah,
be focused
exactly,
in the
but-
Olympics,
but not
it just
himself.
didn't look characteristic.
Yeah.
So I think that was the biggest thing with Bodie Miller, but obviously he was disappointed.
Well, with the Olympics, you always have to talk about how these guys have prepared for 4 years,
Yeah.
and you don't even know if you'll be able to compete in the next Olympics because of injuries might come up. We've seen that
Injuries,
all over
age,
with
all
And the
kinds of
younger
stuff.
Yeah.
the younger generation.
Yeah.
4 years is
yeah,
it's a big gap of time.
and it's sad to see because the U.S. really has been able to dominate the Olympics the past years, but we haven't been seeing these big names yet win for us this year.
Well, it was
a
our
couple more.
guaranteed guys
Yeah.
on getting the job done.
Yeah.
You know.
Like a couple more, Shawnee Davis. He's the short track speed skater,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and he was going for a three-peat, just like
Just
Shaun
like
White.
Shaun White was, yeah.
And he got
And
eighth place.
he got
too.
eighth place too.
Eighth place.
So, something obviously, I don't know what's wrong, but the U.S. is just having trouble.
And Norway's cleaning up the speed skating.
Well, they do
competition.
every
Yeah,
year, but they're keeping their dominance. You know,
Yeah.
obviously asserting themselves there, but
And then when you go to the freestyle, the women's freestyle, Hannah Kearney from the U.S., she was heavily favored. I've watched her. Like I went to the World Cup up at Deer Valley a couple weeks ago and watched her, and it's funny because like you watch the women's freestyle compared to the men's, like
Yeah.
just like the big difference between it. But Hannah Kearney was that one that was like she could ski with the guys.
She
and
was
ski
even
just as
different
well
from
because
the
like
girls,
she's
yeah.
the one that's pulling backflips off the top jump. And then pulling, they pull like 360s on the bottom, which seems weird, but it
Yeah.
actually you get more points for like tail grabs, 360s
yeah. More
on
technical.
the bottom than you would just a backflip. And she got a bronze. I mean, she got the medal on like Shaun White, Bodie Miller
Yeah.
and stuff, but
It's just
not.
but not the one she wanted or was expected to get.
Definitely
you know.
not.
Other news with women's hockey too. The U.S. women's hockey team lost today to Canada 2-3. So that was
After
was
a
just
9-point shutout against
Yeah.
Switzerland, which you can kind of tell the difference in talent level between women's hockey teams in the Olympics. But I don't know. That's interesting. It was a controversial final goal for Canada, but that wasn't the finals yet. So we'll look to see.
They're both in the semis.
Yeah.
And there's a real big chance that we see
Yeah.
them in the finals. And
Maybe we can steal, because we've lost these expected ones, so maybe we can go in and steal a couple golds here at the end. Because USA is always looking to, they don't want to be second in anything.
No.
Especially not for the medal count, and especially not for the gold medal count.
Well, something I want to do. Let's move into some happier stuff.
Okay.
After all this, first, dude out of Canada, Alex Bilodeau, he won it last year, and then he comes back this year and does it again in freestyle skiing, gets the gold. But the cool thing about him is before the Olympics, I can't remember what I was watching, but I saw
his brother
this
with
really
cerebral
cool
palsy.
interview about him. And like Mitch just said, his brother has cerebral palsy, and he's like his inspiration.
And it's
know?
funny if you look it up, he actually gives his gold medals to his brother.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter if that's publicity or not. To give your
Yeah,
gold medal
I know.
away after
Yeah.
all that work that you put into it, that's
And
amazing.
What I
That's some
think
humility. Yeah.
What I think was cool is the first medal that he won, he was, and then the media tries to immediately come to him with, microphones and cameras, and they go, hey. And he said, someone from, it's pretty much like the NBC of Canada, came to him and was like, look, can we get an interview from you? He said, hold on just a minute, kind of pushed her aside and went right to his brother and gave him a big old hug. Like, he has his priorities straightened out, that he just comes off of this high of winning a gold medal, and all these people want to talk to him and get his picture and everything, and he goes, excuse me for a minute, and slithers right to his brother, and he does the same again, with the second one here. But I just think the humility of this guy's awesome. And in his interview, he was talking about he's a star in Canada. People know who he is. You pass him on the street, he gets recognized. But he says when he's with his brother, pushing his brother around in his wheelchair and stuff, more people know his brother than know him. And his brother feels like a rock star when that happens. So I think it's really cool that he shares these moments with his brother, his older brother.
Who doesn't get to experience it himself. But that is a really good story, which is what the Olympics are all about. And it's not all just about winning and pride. Sometimes it's about sharing the joy with other countries and getting to experience that with the world.
It's definitely something that we can forget in talking about, Shaun White losing.
Exactly.
I mean,
and
we
Shaun
talked
White
about
was
this.
all smiles.
He was. Props to him for. You could tell he was very disappointed and sad, but he didn't.
Because we talked about this yesterday. We're sitting in math class.
Oh my gosh.
And Scott looks at me and he's like, Shaun White got fourth, and we were all devastated,
and confused. Confused more than.
But in all reality, when you see something like Alex's situation where something like that, that's oh, well, maybe winning that gold really wasn't as important to us as something like that.
Yeah.
So puts it in perspective for you.
It really, and like what Scott said, what I really like about it is that's what the Olympics is, but what competing ultimately is all about is having a good time. And like we said about Bodie Miller, sometimes you take it too seriously. That's not what it's about. Obviously it's pros and countries against countries, but ultimately we do what we do to have fun. And he just shows it and shares it with his brother, who physically can't do what he gets to do, but through this moment gets to share that with him. So I don't know, I really like that story. And then moving on from that, Erin Hamlin from the U.S. Really cool story about her. She looked really good last night. I was watching her race and she was going pretty fast. Ends up with the bronze behind two Germans who were going even faster than her. But she's the first.
And the Germans normally sweep.
So.
And
did you see the video of the guy who fell off the luge and then got back? Good gracious, still.
They're going over 80 miles an hour.
It has to be one of the most dangerous.
On ice with blades.
Last year 4 years ago in Vancouver, they had a German. He went up over the track and something went wrong and he hit a pole. And
well, that wasn't the one I was talking about, but he got back on the luge.
Yeah, he got back on.
Oh,
yeah, I did see that
it's
guy.
Definitely a dangerous sport.
He was rolling down, then somehow
fast.
Slips it back on. But I mean, scary conditions for sure. But
back to him with the importance of
the first U.S. Olympian to win the luge.
Yeah,
that's to win the singles
make
luge.
Your mark.
Male or female, since 1964, I think, is when when they first had singles luge, and no U.S. has ever medaled. There's been 1 in 6th place and 2 in 4th place in the history of the U.S.'s time in single luge, and she finally breaks the drought and gets the bronze medal for the U.S.
Well, the U.S. also made history in a slopestyle competition, which is new to the Olympics this year. So I mean, it's not hard to
but still, they're pioneers of their sport.
But the U.S. sweep, Jamie Anderson in the women's and Sage Kotzenberg in the males.
Right out of Park City.
And Sage is from Park City. He's a native from Park City.
15 minutes away from here.
And so that's exciting for the that's probably been the biggest upside to the U.S. this year in the Olympics, is sweeping an event that we really wanted.
And while there's a lot of disappointment, there's still a lot to look forward to in the Olympics moving forward. But that's about all we have for it. We'll be back next week with some more Olympic coverage. But we're going to take it to a commercial, and then we'll be right back with some NBA.
All around the world. the beach, y'all. Let's go. All around the world. Y'all know this is so that. To the beach, y'all. Yeah.
Okay, we're back, and there's already some tension in the room because whenever there's NBA, it's
Things get a little spicy.
yeah, things get
Spicy.
We
Little
have
Cajun.
a LeBron fan over here.
and then you have two Thunder
some,
fans.
yeah, some Kevin Durant fans. So let's just talk about this.
Well, let's just
LeBron
kick
has,
it off,
been,
then.
has made some comments
for the past
that
month
are-
or so.
For the past month or so, not necessarily the most humble things to say.
And more just obnoxious
Yeah.
than even respectable.
Yeah.
But obviously, we've seen with the past month, Kevin Durant's enjoyed a lot of success, and for sure has kind of established his number one spot in the MVP race.
Yeah.
And LeBron's had a lot to say about his thoughts for Kevin Durant. He's always given him great props, and he thinks he's he gives him mad respect for being such a great player.
Mm-hmm.
But it almost seems like at this point in time now, he's trying to talk so much to the media about Kevin Durant because he wants to draw the attention. And he's doing all these dunk contests in Phoenix and stuff like that, and it just seems like he's lost his attention that he's used to always
you can
getting to.
see why he would be wanting because he's won 2 straight titles, 2 straight MVPs,
Yes.
2 straight title MVPs.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden Kevin Durant comes in and he's doing all this amazing stuff. And he's
we
just,
still need to talk about LeBron.
I'm just gonna let you guys finish, and then I'll share mine.
Okay.
this is probably painful for you.
Okay.
But these are, and this is a quote. They're talking about kind of the best players in the NBA. And he had trouble naming the fourth one. He didn't want to really name the.
Yeah.
He said
Oscar Robertson.
Yeah, which was who he said, but he said Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, and Magic Johnson were the best 3. And he was hesitant to name the 4th player, and they asked
He
him
wanted
why.
to put himself in it.
And he said, because I'm going to be one of the top 4 to ever play this game for sure. And if they don't want me to have one of those top 4 spots, they better find another spot on that mountain. And he's talking about Mount Rushmore, kind of the Mount Rushmore of basketball.
Which, does it need to be a top 4? Probably not. Does it matter what LeBron's top 4 is? Probably not.
It doesn't.
But yet, ESPN still finds a need to talk about it, and yet we still find a need to talk about it. So we're still. LeBron is always finding a way to bring attention to himself, even when, because we saw with the dunk contest, obviously he wasn't picked again, and people are disappointed about that. And then he goes and puts his own personal dunk contest in there for people to talk about, and for people to even judge.
Yeah.
It's frustrating to me, but well, I guess we'll let the Heat fan decide.
All right, I guess I'm a little bit biased towards it, but this is my honest view towards it. With the whole dunk contest thing, it's been a little irritating to me because he should be in a dunk contest. He wants to be, the fans want him to be, but he never puts in for it. And then year after year, I mean, this was a couple of years ago, he'd say, "Oh, I think I'll do it next year. Oh, it looked really fun this year. I think I'll do it next year," and never does it. So with it, and I can't blame him for it. He might have his reasons for not doing it. You know, maybe he wants to save because the All-Star break is a time for players to rest. You know, that's what it is, ultimately. And he's in the All-Star game already, so maybe he doesn't want to exert himself in the dunk contest. I don't know, but then maybe he doesn't want to get injured in it.
The All-Star game matters that much, though.
I'm just saying, maybe he doesn't want to exert himself in that way. Like Blake Griffin was talking about Damian Lillard the other day, about how props to Damian Lillard also for being
He's in every
in every event, games,
not in
and
the Shooting Stars.
Well,
in every event.
That's not his fault. Because Portland doesn't have
I know.
But Blake Griffin was talking about it, and he's been in dunk contests and won them, and he's been in All-Star games and won those as well. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Oh, that's super cool, for him and everything." They said, "Well, what about you? How come you don't do dunk contest stuff anymore?" He says, "Well, this is a time for me to rest. This is a time for me to be with my family and my friends and kind of get away from what I've been doing since October."
The NBA schedule is extremely rigorous. I mean, they're playing back-to-backs all the time, and these are 48-minute games against the best players in the world. So it obviously take a toll on your body, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the players really take the All-Star break to just recover.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't have a problem with much as with the dunk contest as much. I am kind of getting sick of it, of him constantly just kind of calling out Durant and
Yeah.
I'm getting to that. I
It's-
want to share my
those-
view.
They're kind of, they're the top two players right now.
Yeah,
and it's
and
a
there's-
heated
and-
rivalry
yes.
for sure.
For sure, and they're also great friends. They trained many summers with each other, and LeBron James, I think it was 2 years ago at the beginning of the season, said, "This guy's pretty much." I'm paraphrasing, but he said pretty much, "This is the guy I like to work with him because this is the guy that's right behind me, right on my tail, and he's a great player." And so he's never disrespected
Yeah.
Kevin Durant in anything that he said. He's only given, a lot of props to him. But whenever LeBron James is the face of the NBA, with Kobe has been arguably the face of the NBA this last couple of years, internationally, of course, and then even here. But he's older now. He's got some injuries. His team's not as good. LeBron is the face of the league. I don't think there's any denying that, right? I mean, he's a household name outside the U.S., much like Kevin Durant is, but LeBron has been the best player.
Yes, LeBron
We get
is.
the point.
Okay,
yes.
just saying.
Yes,
so whenever
we love talking about LeBron.
whenever
Yeah.
the best player opens his mouth, people are going to say anything about what he's saying. If Mo Williams came out and said stuff about Kevin Durant, no one would really care because he's Mo Williams. You know what I'm saying? But when the best
Yes,
player,
it would still matter.
but when the best player, the magnet, it's more of a magnitude.
yeah, and
there.
people are gonna digest or discuss it more.
Exactly.
But and obviously should he be at fault for when reporters are going to come up to him and ask him?
Exactly. If he
there's-
wants to go out and dunk in Phoenix, and people want to film
Okay,
it,
he's
he shouldn't have to stop
he's
just to do it.
specifically doing it for the cameras.
Give some hype to the fans, man.
Okay, then just go do it in the dunk contest and quit.
Well, if he doesn't want to, he doesn't have to.
Okay, all right.
That's his choice. But with the whole Mount Rushmore thing,
and that's not. That's one of the comments he's made. He's also talked about how he should have been Defensive Player of the Year for the past couple years. How he should be Defensive Player of the Year this year. And I just feel like you shouldn't be saying these things. You should be out proving them.
I think he has.
And same with the Mount Rushmore comment. I don't think. Obviously, he's one of the greatest to ever play the game. Why say it? Why not just? People already know it. But when you come out and say it, it's just like, why aren't you just proving it instead?
Well, and for someone, I don't have any problem with what he said. If he gets asked a question, I want him to answer. I want anyone to answer a question that they're asked, how they would answer, honestly. Yeah. And I look at his top guys, like, Jordan, Bird, Magic, and then even him, we said he hesitated. I'm going to be one of the top. I totally agree with those four there, honestly. Those are, I would say, my Mount Rushmore would be those four.
Yeah.
The only difference with him is he's not retired. He's not done.
Yeah.
So people look at that and say, "Oh, he's still. You can't put him there because he hasn't done all of these things." Well, he's not done yet either.
Yeah.
And he's on
once
pace
he's
to
done,
best Michael Jordan.
And once he's done, he's
with
going to be
titles.
there. He's
Exactly.
going to be there.
Yeah. And
it's just arrogance.
Yeah.
And it's just a need for. Just a whining need for attention.
I don't think it is though. He's got all the attention as it is. People ask him questions. He answers the questions.
No, because the attention was starting to waver a little bit. You could
Yeah.
see that Durant was once Durant started to kind of turn it on. They beat.
But
the
the
Heat.
reason he's the one always talking about it is because they are the two best players. They want to hear what he has to say about it.
Okay, but Durant's going to get just as much media attention as LeBron a lot of the times too.
Yeah.
And we don't see Durant's comments coming up that often. And like last game, after the Thunder did beat the Heat, he just credited God and then walked off the court.
Yeah.
We don't need to hear some big speech about all of his opinions on.
And LeBron James, this goes back to last month. He said he was jealous of Kevin Durant's how he can pretty much shoot at will.
Yeah.
Who is
LeBron?
Of his shot
Why
attempts.
can't LeBron do that?
Yeah.
Why doesn't LeBron?
That's just
And that kind of went. The reporters took that to Kevin Durant, and he just responded by saying like, "You guys are blowing this out of proportion."
Which it
I'm
always
pretty
is.
sure,
I totally
I'm
agree
pretty
with
sure
that as
LeBron
well.
James can do whatever he wants, which
Yeah.
he could. If he took 3 more shots a game, and he'll probably make 1 or 2
he
at
could
least
shoot
of those
50
3
a
shots.
game and he wouldn't
no
get
one
in
will
trouble.
blame him.
No one.
And so for LeBron to come out and say, I'm jealous of his shot
It's just
attempts.
a need for-
Just shoot the ball more.
It's just- we don't
Honestly,
need to
you're
hear your
LeBron
thoughts.
James.
But
No one
we
is
don't
going to
need to-
stop
we don't
you
need
from
to hear
shooting.
LeBron.
LeBron has I
everyone.
mean, obviously Kevin Durant's had all of his success. I think in part because Russell Westbrook's
Yeah,
been
and
out.
it is partly because.
And so I think he has to shoot the ball more. Whereas you look at the Heat and LeBron has always been second to scoring. He's been a passing player, even since high school. He's always been a passer.
But the knock on Durant was always is that he wasn't as much of a complete player as LeBron James now. But you look at the stats, Durant's averaging 1 less assist than LeBron James.
He's averaging 5 more points,
With-
almost another rebound, and then 1 less assist.
But they also play in 2 different systems of basketball. You know,
The system relies around LeBron James in
The
Miami.
offense, it's
he's the
around
point
him.
guard.
he's
Yeah,
he's
so-
everything.
So I don't know. I guess moving on. We kind of got to vent about that a little bit, but the biggest news is the All-Star break's coming up, and
Yeah, the All-Star weekend is this weekend, and so far we've talked about LeBron James. So, I mean, let's talk about the All-Star break a little bit. Some really interesting selections in some of the contests. The skills challenge.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Giannis
and
say that again, because I don't
Antetokounmpo
know.
or something like that. He's Greek.
His name is Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Does anyone want to watch him?
I don't know
He's
who he is.
6'10". He's 6'10".
I don't know.
He's a rookie this year.
I watch the NBA every night, and I don't know who this guy is.
He's
To
actually
be completely honest, this is the first time I've ever heard of this guy.
He plays for the Bucks.
he was a top 10 pick. Okay, he's actually grown an inch and a half since he was drafted.
Oh my
Yeah.
word.
But so he's a freak. But I don't know why he's participating in the skills challenge. I'd
challenge.
actually like to see him in the dunk contest instead of
Yeah,
that.
if anything.
But we actually have an interesting dunk contest this year too. There's
Yeah.
a lot of talent. There's not the big household names we're usually accustomed to.
I look at that list, and they're all really young players.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think as far as all of these events go, they all seem to be really young players. And I don't know if they're trying to.
Yeah, like Reggie Jackson's
Do that on purpose.
in the skills
Reggie
challenge
Jackson-
too, as well as Michael Carter Williams and Oladipo.
Yeah.
It's just
Those. I mean,
we don't see
those
the
are
Tony
rookies
Parker.
and sophomores.
We don't see the Tony Parker and Chris Paul and I mean even
Steve
Goran Dragic
Nash.
is getting in there too.
Yeah.
But moving forward to the dunk contest, congrats to Damian Lillard for being in all the contests.
Yeah, including the Rising Stars.
Yes.
Yeah,
How
and
did-
they also.
And I'm not sure if that's been done before.
No, this will be the first time.
No, this will
be the
That-
first time.
that everyone's
Yeah.
competed in.
But how did he get in the dunk contest?
That's what I was
what I
wondering.
wanna know, too.
Damian Lillard is one like my top 2 favorite players in the league, and I can't see him being successful in the dunk contest. I mean,
Obviously, he has like some hops. We've seen him catch alley-oops and throw it down.
he's
but-
oop.
I think
But-
I think the dunk contest is Paul George's contest to lose.
Or
And
Terrence Ross,
I
who
got
won
John
it last
Wall.
year.
I got John Wall. I think the creativity.
Well,
of
I
John
think
Wall
the
is-
East it's a contest between the conferences this year. So the East will be
Yeah.
against the West.
Yeah.
And I think the Eastern has it in the bag.
I think so too.
Paul George, Terrence Ross,
I
who
think
won
Lillard
it
brings
last
the
year.
West down.
Yeah,
Literally.
yeah.
yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. He's not a great dunker.
But he got in there, so give it to
Props
him,
to
I
Trey
guess.
Burke for being in a contest.
Yeah.
Out of
Stephen
Utah.
Curry probably won't even miss a 3 in the
I think Kyrie Irving's gonna win that one.
He won
But
it
we'll
last
see.
year.
So we'll see.
We'll have to see.
Is Kevin Love in that?
Yeah. Why are we playing Dark Horse?
Why are we playing the Juicy J part of Dark Horse?
Okay, this has to be not good for us. Shoot. No.